Hola and welcome to Chef's Gear. Today I'm going to take you for a short trip to Spain, so vámonos! Well, you probably guessed it, I am not Spanish, so if I butcher the pronunciation, please don't be too mad at me. We're going to start as usual with a classic cocktail for Spain, and it's going to be Tinto de Verano. It's a type of sort of sangria, so all you need for it is of course a vessel, some ice, you want it really nice and chilled. You're going to need some apples, best are the green Granny Smith kind. I'm going to cut it up in a little dice. That goes straight into the glass. Then you need some lemonade. It needs to be sparkly. And you can decide how strong you get it. So you can put more lemonade, less lemonade, depends on the time of the day, of course. And of course you need some good quality Spanish wine. And I guess Crianza Roja 2016 is quite good actually. And just top it up. And now you have a really cool, refreshing drink. Oh, it actually got layers too. So that's what it is. Enjoy. All right. So for the main course, we're going to prepare a brandade de bacalao, and that's what we're going to stuff the peppers with. Usually it's served tapas style, so in small piquillo peppers. I'm going to do it in large bell peppers because it also can be served as kind of a light lunch. So for your stuffed peppers with brandade de bacalao, you need potatoes, some garlic, red bell peppers or piquillo peppers depending on the size you want it, onions and leek, and of course some parsley for garnish. It's also good to have some white wine and some thick cream and of course olive oil. So let's get it all started. First of all, you want to cook off the potatoes, the leek and the onion, but you don't want to caramelize them, so you're going to use gentle heat. I have the option to set my stove for temperature, so I'm going to use the lowest temperature setting, about 100 degrees. Maybe I'll turn it up later on, but you don't want the temperature to be too high. You want sort of make the potatoes and the onions and the leeks translucent. You don't want to caramelize them and brown them. So first, let's add some olive oil. And now when the oil gets its temperature, you can put all the ingredients straight away. All your other ingredients other than fish need to be proportional. So if you have 1 kilo of fish, all your other ingredients probably 1-to-1 ratio, also about 1 kilogram. So I'm having about 200 grams, 300 grams of potatoes, about 150 grams of onions, and about 200-250 grams of leek. And now you can just stir it on the pan. It's good to take a non-stick pan because you're going to do it for quite a while. You don't want those vegetables to stick to the surface. Just make sure you move it around quite frequently. Not too much though, you don't want to break it up. And this process will probably take about 10 to 12 minutes. When your onions are getting translucent and your leek, and you see the potatoes are already started to cook, that's the time where you can add your white wine. So you just want to cover the potatoes. So you probably need a cup or two. Make sure all the potatoes are covered. And now you want to evaporate all the alcohol. Make sure all the wine disappears from the pan. That's going to take another couple of minutes. In the meantime, I'm going to cut up the fish. So I have a cod loin on my workbench. Just make sure there are no grates anywhere. And you want to cut it up. I always do it like lengthways. You don't need to be too particular about it. It's going to be a paste anyway. All right, once the alcohol, all liquid, is nearly evaporated, that's where you can add all the cod loin, just like that. Now it's time for the garlic. About 2 cloves of garlic is absolutely fine. You don't want to kill the flavor of the dish, of the fish. Just give it a stir. And now it's time for the cream. I'm using 36% thick cream, sweet of course. I'm gonna add it in, and also you need to just cover all the ingredients, make sure they're all submerged in the cream. And now it is a waiting game. So stir it every now and then, make sure it cooks through, where you can just smash it all up. I'm just gonna season it, like lots of salt. The cream is gonna absorb lots of that salt, so I'm gonna season it twice, once now and once later on when the dish is nearly done. Again, give it a stir. And you want to apply gentle heat, so just make sure it just slowly simmers and reduces down to a really, really thick paste, so we can break it up further. When the cream is nearly evaporated, you can turn down the temperature to very low, make sure it still keeps on reducing. Just want to get rid of all the liquid in it. So while this is going, let's prepare the peppers. All right, so I said I prepared some bell peppers. So first let's core them. And you want to keep those lids. So you want to cut it all around. Take out the seeds. Now that I have 4 peppers, I already prepared a baking tray. Make sure you line it with some baking paper. If your capsicums or peppers do not stay upright, well, I've seen many times that they just put them laying down. But if you want them standing up, you can just trim the bottom just a little bit so they can stand upright. It will be much easier to fill them up. Now these peppers are prepared. Let's just break it up, the brandade. What I'm gonna do, I'm just gonna break it up with a fork. So we're just gonna break up all the potatoes, make sure it's like a chunky puree of sorts. You don't want the brandade for this particular dish to be too dry. If it's too dry, because we're gonna roast the peppers again in the oven, if it's too dry, it's just gonna dry out completely. So you wanna keep a little bit of moisture in. There you go. I'm gonna adjust the seasoning. Again, the cream's gonna absorb a lot of that seasoning, so don't be stingy with it, right? Just make sure there's a lot of flavor in this dish. All right, I reckon that's already smooth enough for my taste. So it's time to fill the peppers. Best you do it with a spoon. Make sure you shake it a little bit so it gets down to the very bottom of the pepper. Make sure you push it in. Make sure there's a lot of it in, also on the sides and on the top. And make sure there's a little bit of that brandade sticking out, because it's gonna caramelize in the oven. All right, so now a drizzle of olive oil on top. You can put the lids back on for garnish. And now they go into a preheated oven at 180 degrees for about 10 to 15 minutes. Remember, everything's cooked, so all you just want is a bit of color on those peppers. So in the oven they go. All right, 10 minutes are up. Let's take the peppers out of the oven. Now the only challenge is to transfer them from the tray into a plate. So I'm gonna use tongs and a spatula, and hopefully I won't burn myself too bad. That's one. So far so good. That's number 2. There you go. Oh, that's lucky. And just for finish, chopped parsley. You just want to drop it all over the plate, just like that. A drizzle of olive oil for a bit of shine. And there you go. That's your stuffed peppers with brandade de bacalhau. So cod brandade. Okay, so I hope you liked the recipe. If you did, hit the like button. If you want to stay up to date with our latest productions, hit subscribe. Let me know in the comments what other recipes I can do for you. I thank you guys very much for watching, and adios. Hasta la vista.